I want to talk to you about what I'm expecting in the editorial assignment where you are writing about two editorials that are addressing one issue of your choice, a controversial issue that is currently in our cultural conversation. And what I mean by that is that people are talking about it. You can hear it in the news, you can hear it in newspapers and magazines. Um, Online. You can see discussions about it. So it's some issue that is really important to us right now. And it could be a wide range of issues. It could be about healthcare. It could be about uh, college sports, or it could be about student loans, or it could be about the future of careers and artificial intelligence. It could be immigration. It could be so many things. Now, some of these issues are more loaded than others. They might involve more of a, more tension and more of an emotional weight than others. That doesn't necessarily make them better issues in terms of how I view it. Some issues might have more of a serious consequence for society at large. Um, but there might be an issue that really interests you that doesn't have that sort of consequence, but is nevertheless um, something that we are discussing and debating as a society, or as a group as a group of society. So to give you two examples about that, medical costs are often exorbitant, and the average middle class family is paying a lot for insurance that doesn't necessarily doesn't automatically or do the job, if you will, for everybody. You pay a lot to carry a policy, and then you find that the policy doesn't cover the things that you might think it does, or there are circumstances in your medical trauma that the policy doesn't actually cover. Or you might submit your claims to the insurance group, and they might initially reject some of those claims, and then upon appeal or a resubmission, they then accept it. So it seems to be, just hard to navigate and extremely expensive, and a lot of Americans are becoming very much afraid of healthcare because it seems to be full of traps, financial traps that can be very hard to deal with. So, there are a lot of issues there, whether it's prescription drugs or some sort of new way to do healthcare funding, um, uh, as far as how we carry the insurance, and that Medicaid, with some of the recent cuts, Medicaid has been out of reach for many families. And now what do they do? What do you do when you're just not covered? And there are a lot of particular approaches to this, or that's the main issue, is the affordability of healthcare in America. But there are a lot of sub issues to that you might want to pick one of those, to focus on, so that you don't focus on the juggernaut of American healthcare. That's huge. But that has a lot of serious consequences to people. However, there might be something much I don't want to say less serious, but maybe not so emotionally connected to the majority of people. Everyone needs healthcare, but maybe it's something like um, cheaper childcare for working moms and dads. So you have a family where both people are working, both both parents are working, and they have young children, and they need childcare. And if you look at childcare pricing, it's pretty incredible. So maybe that is an issue that you might want to focus on. And you can see how that's smaller than healthcare for everyone, but it still is big enough in its own way to, especially for parents that have young children and they're paying for childcare, to be a relevant topic to write this paper about, a relevant topic to be sitting in the middle of discourse around it, from newspapers, magazines, online articles, things like that, streaming news services, documentaries about that. Now let's take it one step even further. What about something like whether or not uh, whether or not there should be excuse me, um, street curfews for cities, and where, or let's go not curfews, but the idea of if you look at your license plate, and if it ends in a certain number or letter, or begins in a certain letter or number, then you cannot drive that car on Mondays and Wednesdays. And if it ends or starts in a different letter or number, then you cannot drive that car on a Tuesday or a Thursday. So it's sort of like a lottery. And the idea is to reduce car emissions in a major city by at least a third, or hopefully even a half. But excuse me. So that's an issue that is not life-threatening. It's not it's not so deeply part of people's lives, unless you're living in a big city, right? Then for those that are traveling and have their own car and things like that, then it may affect them. So these are all issues around which policy can be built, opinions can be held, and these issues can also find their way into the media of our day. Excuse me. Now, one of the best ways to just pick an issue is just to read and to watch. Turn on the news, watch for an hour, pick up a magazine that deals with culture and the American life, and just read and see what you can find. Read an editorial, read an opinion piece. Pick up your local newspaper. It could be as simple as that. Pick up your local newspaper and find the syndicated columnists. Now, a columnist is going to be a person that writes editorials as well. So now, or you can simply Google who are the top 10 columnists in America, currently the top 10, and you're going to get a list of names: George F. Will, Peggy Noonan, and you're going to get others, and then just pick on one of the names, or pick a name, and then next, search for a recent piece by Peggy Noonan, or by Bob Greene, or whatever, and then you'll find one of the pieces, because that might be something you can just read and then study and realize that, well, that's an opinion piece about a certain issue. Whatever you find is going to be about a certain issue. And that particular piece might be for it or against it, or, it'll take some sort of stance. Now, once you have that particular topic, and you know it now because you read the piece, and you realize, well, this piece seems to be antagonistic or for it or against it, then try to find another piece. At that point, just Google an editorial on this topic that is against it, or something like that, and just try to find another piece that is opposed to that issue. So if you allow me just a minute to repeat what I just said, because this is your method, right? This is your way to find the material to do this. The easy way for a teacher to give you the material is just to say, hey, here's the one opinion, here are the two, here's the one issue, here's a piece for it and a piece against it, and now you guys go read it, summarize it, think about it, and then pick a side, and write your own analysis of these editorials. That would be the easy way to do it. And it would erase a lot of confusion. But at the end of the day, it would not ask you to develop your own method to solving the problem. And your education would still be largely passive here, because you're still waiting on the other end of the screen, or the desk, if you will, waiting for the teacher to give you all the instructions and the materials to do, and then you just follow the instructions and do it. That's extremely passive. Now, it might actually be something that causes you to do some work, but it doesn't help you grow as a problem solver, right? You're still being handed everything. So modern education has to move past this and it has to turn you into a person of method and of discovery and of invention. So I'm presenting the problem to you, and the problem is find a topic and then find two pieces of writing, one for the topic and one against it, if you will, that you can oppose to each other. The pieces of writing, the opinion pieces. They don't have to be writing per se. They can be a news clip or a web video, like a YouTube video that someone has put up, and this person is arguing for or against an issue. So there you have it. So now you have to go out and find the issue, and then you have to find one piece against and one piece for, against over that same issue. And the method I just described to you was, hey, type in top 10 columnists in America. You'll get the list for Google. Now pick one of those and search for, most recent piece or whatever. It doesn't matter. You're going to find one. And at that point, if you're willing to run with the issue that's there, half your work's already done. You got the issue, and you have one piece that's either going to be for or against. If you figure out it's for, now your job is to find an against piece on that issue, and I think you can just search for that online using the right key terms, So now that method will allow you to get the raw materials very quickly, but you have to give up something. And what you give up is you don't necessarily are in charge of picking the topic, right? When you go and you try to find what a current columnist has written about anything, that anything might be any topic out there. And you might realize, well, if I just run with this issue, and I've already found one piece for or against it, all I need to find is another one. I got the issue, I got the two pieces, I'm halfway done with this assignment, or a third of the way done. So that's one way to go at this. But you'll have to figure out, if you don't take that method, how to get work on this, right? And one way is just to come up with a couple issues that interest you, and then just somehow search online. Now that's what you have to figure out, is how do you design and conduct an effective search for that, right? But search online for pieces that you can compare with each other, because one is coming at one angle, looking at that one issue, and the other one is coming from another angle. So the first step here to get this done, right, is to really just pick an issue or find an issue, and then find two pieces that are on that issue that are situated across the table from each other, if you will, maybe not directly opposed, but opposed enough so that you get two different viewpoints on it, right? Now you have to read and watch those and know them, and try to really understand what one of them was, what they were thinking, what they were saying, and then try to really understand and follow with the other one. And then at that point, you're going to be ready to write. And that's going to be what I'm going to talk about with the video that's paired with this one next. Thanks for watching.